Hey, I'm back here to talk about A Stranger in a Strange Land and Starship Troopers again. Last time we talked about Starship Troopers, and I recommend the short end of that review was I would recommend this to you. This book is by the same author, but it's the exact opposite politically. This is very pro military, pro government, everything like that. This is the exact opposite. This is like anti-government, peace and love, everything else like that. The summary of, I mean, the gist of the story: guy comes from Mars. I mean, guy has lived on Mars his whole entire life. Comes to Earth, and it starts out fairly simple. Like he's getting used to the gravity and everything else going on. This book is very, and then it just starts getting batshit insane, like massive orgies. You will feel like you're on LSD. I don't know what LSD feels like, but I'm pretty damn sure it feels like reading this. Um, I would say this is a good book. I mean, it Starship Troopers is a bit shorter. This is bigger, if you can't tell. It's a big book. I would recommend after you finish the chapter, take a break to breathe it all in, let it sink in. This book focuses a lot more on the characters and what's going on around them. This book focuses more on well, they both focus on the themes. This one focuses more on what's actively happening. This is more of a study of pro-sex, pro-peace, pro-hippie. I feel like this book started the whole hippie movement. I could be wrong, but I didn't feel like it really resonated with me like I've heard it has resonated with other people. I I enjoyed it. It's well written, but it didn't really do anything for me. I mean, it's a good book. Don't get me wrong, but I just felt like this did more for me. I felt like this was the story I prefer, but they're separate entities. You can't judge them together. They're very different. It's odd. Most authors, when they write in a genre, they usually just stick with what they're known for. They usually don't leave that area. It's usually their comfort zone. Like, look at Tolkien. All he did, I mean, I'm not bashing the guy at all. I love The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and all that stuff. But all that dude wrote was fantasy. He never really wrote, as far as I know, I could be in anything on the human mind or anything. I mean, like Stephen King, for the longest time, he just wrote horror. That's the thing with a lot of authors. They stick to what they're known for. And I'm going to give Heitland props for that, because not a lot of authors would release something completely different than what they would normally write. If I was going to score this book, I'd say it's good. It's good. It's a read. It's a good read, but would I say, I can't really say if it's better, but I feel like Starship Troopers is better in my personal opinion, just because it connected with me better. But it could be the exact opposite for you. You could be like, oh, this is so much better. I like this book more. I like the themes, the characters more, all this stuff. It's I would recommend taking a break between every chapter just to let it all absorb in. I wouldn't recommend quickly getting through this book in a weekend like a lot of books. I mean, with Starship Troopers, I could most likely say you could probably get through this in a weekend and still process all the themes and get it through and not really have to think that deeply upon it. But this is the exact opposite. You might want to spend a few minutes considering after each chapter, like letting it all process. And that's what I have to say about the book. I think it's a good book, but I don't think it's Hyland's best work. And I think this is his best work. But that's just my subjective opinion. Let me know your opinion on the novel in the comments below.